One of the joys of Scrabble is that every time you sit down to play, something rare and amazing could happen. Will there be a triple triple? Will the game have over 1,000 points scored? Will there be crazy bingos featuring tons of overlaps? Well, in the game you're about to see from round 28 at the MGI International Scrabble Classics, between top experts Natalie Zolty and Chris Lipe, the answer is yes to all of the above. And there's even something just as remarkable that didn't quite happen. With Chris at the top of the standings, with just a few rounds to go in the tournament, and Natalie not far behind, this game will be a pivotal one towards the eventual outcome. Natalie is first to move, and with a surplus of vowels, she elects to exchange 3 of them in the hopes that Chris will open up something nice for her Z. With 36-point plays available, Chris goes with the more restrictive Y as his opener, creating a very difficult board for Natalie to navigate. Something like Zinky is an option for her, but floating a Z and 2 solid bingo tiles out in space after a short opening rightly worries her, and she plays the safer Wreck instead. Chris was already aiming to play Harpist for 81, hooking Ys. Natalie's move gives him an even better spot to play it for 85 points instead. The S of Harpist gives Natalie a nice option of Zinebs for 54, leaving the strong DE combo. However, she actually has a bingo on this move, and she flexes great word knowledge to spot it here. Bedizen for 83, equalizing the game. Chris has a very tough and sneakily solid option here of Datel for 39, scoring well and giving himself very good odds to draw Jab, Jib, or Job next turn, as well as keeping his G to underlap with Zag. He instead makes the much more natural choice of Jab for 36, using up the triple now and undoubling his A's. With only one consonant after her bingo, Natalie is definitely going to play a variation of Zoea off of the Z. The only question is, which one? She settles on Zoea, leaving off the final E in case Chris doesn't have one, so she can hook it next turn. Chris does have one and could play Gated for 37, but this move gives multiple triple word scores back to Natalie, so he opts for Ligated for 36, which computer analysis slightly favors. This puts Chris up by 51, and Natalie draws the first blank just in time. Plays like Unpitied or Unified look solid here, and both would get her right back in the game. She makes an absolutely dazzling play here to improve on both of those options. Disunite, forming 6 overlapping words to pump up her score to 82 points. This is a fantastic find on her part and is by far her best move. With 3 O's in hand, Chris uses his D to hook Natalie's bingo and shed some of those O's with Door for 32, while Natalie draws the X. Flex for 56 is a tempting option here. It seems like putting an X in the triple lane might be unwise, but between the open R of Door and the existing hooks to Zoea, it's not actually that bad. Still, it's hard to fault Natalie for playing Ox for 50, not exposing the X, and leaving a boatload of E's to hook Zoea. Now Chris is the one down 50, and he has a lot of solid options here, including Wiper for 46. He instead plays Empower for 40, adding even more volatility to the board. After her X play, Natalie draws the R. Incredibly, this is just the tile she needs to play the obscure bingo of Eelfair for 79. In perhaps her only real mistake of this game, the bingo eludes her and she plays Fee for 29, making the newly opened area more difficult to use for Chris and leaving very strong bingo tiles for her next turn. Unfortunately for Chris, he's drawn terrible tiles at the worst possible time, and with tile exchanges surely tempting him, he plays Clift for 26. While this play does leave him with both V's, it is the right call, as 26 points is enough to play through here. Natalie is probably expecting Chris to play something in the triple lane on the right side of the board. When he plays Clift instead, she can breathe a huge sigh of relief as her draw of ITY has given her just the right letters to play Literary for an 149-point triple-triple. This transforms a back and forth even contest into an immediate blowout, right? Well, not exactly. Chris still has the 2 V's to contend with, but he's now drawn the second blank, and he's got a solid scoring play in Vogue for 32, by far his top choice here. Natalie continues to run up her lead with the high-scoring Bunks for 41, while Chris draws 3 vowels to his all-consonant leave. He spots his top bingo of natively for 101 here, exactly what he needs to stay in this game. Natalie answers with Chi for 37, putting her back up by over 100, although she could be in some trouble with all those vowels next turn. With 5 tiles in the bag, Chris draws clunky low point tiles that don't bingo, and it looks like he's sunk here. However, there is one play he could make that gives him a shocking pathway to potentially stealing this game. That play is Uni for 13 points. This play undoubles his I's and N's and keeps his S, which is useful here because Shun is a valid word. If he can draw the T or M, he could even play words hooking ak that score enough to make things interesting. However, that's not the true genius of this move. With his leftover letters after Uni, there are 5 combinations of 3 tiles he could draw from the bag that would allow him to play a stunning overlap through the T of harpist, forming 7 additional overlapping words and scoring well over 100 points. From Natalie's perspective, after this play of Uni, there would be only 2 tiles in the bag, and she would certainly be thinking that Chris is gunning for a play hooking Shun. If she makes a play like Mo to block, emptying the bag, Chris could then play Nostrils for 104, collecting 16 extra points from Natalie's unplayed tiles to win this game by 10. Seeing this possibility in a live game scenario would take absolutely unbelievable board vision and foresight. And rather than Uni, Chris plays Int for 15, undoubling both duplicates and hoping to hit the Shun hook. As expected, Natalie blocks that hook, leaving 1 tile in the bag, and Chris makes a reasonable try here of just Chin for 14, hoping to draw an A for Trisula. Even if Natalie is highly likely to see that play and block it, it's as good of a plan as he has at this point. His draw of the O officially ends his already faint hopes. After a few more endgame moves, Natalie wins this thriller of a game, 583 to 482. Both of these 2 players would go on to finish in the top 10 in the extremely difficult MGI field. We had a lot of fantastic games on the live stream, including many from eventual winner Harshan Lamabadu Surya, but in my opinion, this game was the most exciting from the entire stream. Well over 1,000 combined points, a crazy Z bingo followed by a gorgeous overlap, and a triple-triple, and after all that, Natalie could still somehow have lost the game with one of the most epic overlapping bingos I've ever seen. All in all, a pretty fantastic game of Scrabble. If you enjoyed it as much as I did and want to see more games just like this, consider subscribing to my channel. It really helps me out. See you next time.